Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Casually Fit Podcast. My name is Rob. This is episode 36, and thank you for coming by today. It is Wednesday. We are in the middle of the week, and things are looking good. You know, the world is changing. You know, depending on what state you're in, you don't have to wear a mask anymore. You can go outside. You can mingle around. If you got the vaccine, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Again, depending on the state. I'm here in California, so another more month of this, and then we'll be back to normal here. But for everybody else, you know, I think most other states are open. I'm not sure, right? Okay, I'm a busy guy, okay? But either way, things are looking up, right? It's about to be summertime. The weather's starting to get better. I mean, it's a good time, right? It's a good time to be alive, and again, thank you for coming by today. I'm excited. Got a few things I want to show you. Of course, got the Fit Fighter of the Week. Show you somebody who's been in the trenches. Show you, you know what? Can't start off a podcast without messing up a word. But I want to show you someone who is in the trenches, you know, digging away like that movie. The movie where he's on the ridge and he's the type of guy who won't pick up a weapon, and he's just going and saving all the lives. He's just going through all the mayhem. I can't remember the name of that. I want to say Heartbreak Ridge, but that's an old school military movie. The movie I'm thinking of is Broken. Nope, I think that's another movie about a skinny guy having some trouble in the military. Man, you know, comment below what the name of that movie is. I recently watched it again. But, you know, off on that tangent, like I said, I want to show you somebody who is, you know, fighting the good fight. Obviously not like that in World War I or II or whenever that movie was set, but, you know, something that's pretty intense, like trying to lose weight. So I want to show you somebody who's been doing it for a while. This person that I'm about to show you today has lost about, I believe it's around 200 pounds. So that's exciting. I'm also going to quickly dive into, probably not quickly, but, you know, I'm going to talk about the diet, right? I'm going to talk about a good diet that you should 100% for sure be on. In my personal opinion, I believe everybody should be on this diet. It is a tasty diet, especially, you know, I'll get into it later, but it's a tasty diet. I'm just going to give you advice on it, why you should check it out, and, you know, how it can possibly help you out as well. So I'm going to get into that. Then I'm also going to, again, kind of outline a good kind of workout plan for you, right? If you're looking around, you're trying, you know, there's so many workout programs, there's so many diets out there, there's so much food to choose from, there's so many workouts to choose from, kettlebell training, you know, you got the TRX, you got, you know, you got all this stuff. So I'm going to try to narrow all of that down for you today. Again, these are very large topics that need to be talked about in depth, which I will. And also that I have talked about these topics. Plus, you can see specific videos that I have done on many of these topics on my YouTube channel, where I make a more concise video, so you can check that out as well. But I want to give you more kind of broad guideline and kind of talk about these things a little bit today. That's what I want to talk about, right? And also, at the end of the episode, I'm going to show you somebody who's just a fit freak, right? They're going to be the fit freak of the week. They're just out there just clanging and banging, baby. They're just out there freaking throwing up weights, running, sweating, you know, just doing all that stuff. So maybe that gets you motivated as well. But let's get into it, right? Well, let me tell you about myself, I guess, a little bit, right? You kind of want to know maybe a little bit about me. I don't know. If you've been following the podcast, you know that in the beginning of the year, I went on a snowboarding trip, and it was a fun time. It was a great time snowboarding, but it was kind of a bad decision. It was kind of a reckless decision on my part, because leading up to that snowboard trip, I was surfing a lot, working out a lot. I ended up tweaking my back pretty bad, and I'm going through this whole long process of tweaking my back. But this one was pretty horrible. I was pretty much in pain the entire time snowboarding. And when I got back from snowboarding after a couple days, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go surfing. I couldn't even really lift up like a 45-pound plate and put it on the bar. I was pretty much useless. I was still going into the gym. I was doing like active recovery because maybe I'm an addict or whatever, whatever you want to call it. But I was still going into the gym, but I was basically not doing anything other than, just chilling on the elliptical and doing a bunch of stretches. And I did that for like, a month and a half. And then I got back out there a little bit. Then I tweaked it again. And then now, today, the back feels great. Okay, the back feels pretty fresh, right? It's still a building process, and it just feels a lot stronger than what it has. I'm able to surf now, and I'm able to, put some weight on my shoulders and get going, right? I'm able to run, and that's exciting, right? When you go from a place of, I'm a very active person, so when I, get taken back, like I recently have been as well, if you've been listening, recently took a digger on my electric skateboard, and that took me out of the water for 2 weeks. I couldn't even, my foot, like if you think of a runner who's about to run off the starting blocks, how they have their foot pressed down onto that block and their foot kind of bends at the toes. I couldn't do that for 2 weeks. 2 weeks I couldn't do that, right? And I just recently have been able to do that. I did go surfing, a little bit earlier than what I should have. I probably could have brought that down a little bit, probably could have healed up a little bit faster, but I did go surfing. Very painful experience, but there's some pretty good waves. So, but yeah, either way, that was another hiccup. But I just wanted to say that, hey, I'm here today. I haven't been able to run because messing up myself on the electric skateboard. But I could have ran, and I could have been putting more weight on my legs because my back felt great. I just wanted to relay that for anybody out there who's going through any injuries, any ailments at all. If you just spend some time and kind of identify what's causing it or what caused it and how you might be able to navigate yourself to a place where you can be pain-free or you can be able to be mobile with it and get to the other side of it, there is the other side of it. You can reduce the ailments, reduce the pain, and you can get better. So that's why I wanted to say that today. And I guess that's a little bit about myself. Other than that, I'm very busy. I also didn't release a video on Monday. I apologize for anybody who waits for those videos. I like doing those videos a lot. I really like to find a topic that I want to talk about, and I like writing it out. I like researching it. I like finding the best way that I can convey the information on the topic to you and also match that up with images and things like that. I really like doing it. I really like the process of writing it, creating it. And since I like the process so much that, I didn't want to rush the process. And this last week, it would have been very rushed. And I didn't want to do that to you. I didn't want to do that to myself. I know it might not be the best work that you'll ever see on YouTube, but it is my best work at that specific time. So, I want to make sure that I'm putting out my best every single week. And if I can't do that, I just don't want to rush it, right? So I'm not just going to put out something that's, I can't even swear. Isn't it weird that, if I swear right now, and I already said the V word, you can guess what the V word is. But isn't it weird that if I swear right now in 2021 on a YouTube channel, then they'll more than likely demonetize me and possibly push down my videos so like less people see it. If I just say the A word, and I already said the V word, isn't that weird? Like I grew up in the 90s to where, it was different because there was like, you're being limited to swearing in the 80s and 90s on TV and just on TV, not really movies, but on TV. And then it kind of populated up, and then in the 2000s, 2010s, more swearing's coming about. And then on the internet, it was kind of free. It's like the wild, wild west for a while. And now it's all going back. It's like we're back in the 40s or something, back in the 40s or 50s. Everybody's watching everybody's word, and, so that's kind of weird. I don't know how I got on that tangent, but I don't even know where I started. but let's get into the Fit Fighter of the Week. How about that? Let's do that. Maybe somebody can enlighten me down in the comment section what I was actually talking about. But let me show you this lady right here. So again, if you're listening to this podcast, that's great. But if you want to watch what I'm talking about, go to the YouTube channel, all right? But this week is, I feel like I showed her before, but I don't think I did. There's something weird with a lot of people who are trying to lose weight online. They have these really long hashtags, or not hashtags, usernames that I have noticed. This one is Warrior Jessica /fat. And you'd think that'd all be one word, but there is an underscore under each one of those words. So if you're looking for her on Instagram, maybe take a break from work, maybe go take a lunch so you can type all that in. Or if you're on YouTube, you can just go down to the description box, and I got a link for you right there. So either way, I'm not trying to talk smack. Unfortunately, sometimes I do. So Warrior Jessica /fat. She's got over 100,000 followers, and she's lost over 200 pounds, which, okay, that's a lot of weight, right? That's like a whole other overweight person is 200 plus pounds. That's a lot, all right? So this is something that we should all be paying attention to, right? And if you look on your screen right now, you will see me go into this little tiny box, and you will see Warrior Jessica /fat in this perfect. This is what really caught my eye, is this picture right here. It is a perfect timeline of her weight loss journey. She started back in 2019 January, weighing 354 pounds. Okay, again, right now that is a considerable amount of other people in America right now, right? So if you're watching this, you might be thinking, I'm kind of around this weight. Well, this is why you should be watching this freaking Casually Fit podcast, right? Is because I want to show you somebody like Warrior Jessica, she weighed 354 pounds in January 2019, and you can see this progression, actually a very fast progression. Right after that, she went from there, and she dropped about 150 pounds from January to June. Huge. I mean, that almost like puts me up on some like red flags there. That's a lot of weight in a very, very short amount of time, right? I would say for any of you listening, watching this at all, I mean, if you can do it, do it. Okay, but what I preach on this podcast and this YouTube channel is things need to happen a little bit slower, right? You need to, I'm not sure if she did surgery or not. I'm not sure. I didn't look into it too much, right? But that's a lot of weight, right? If she did it with straight diet and exercise, praise the Lord. Okay, that's what I'm hoping for, that she did it. If she did surgery too, that's fine. Okay, but if she did diet and exercise, that is, I mean, she should be on the billboards all over the United States of America, right? That is so much weight to lose in such a short amount of time. But yes, either way, you can see her losing this weight. And then about the same time, May of the next year, then she loses about 40 pounds, right? So you see how, if you're trying to lose weight, there's some fluctuations going on. Okay, if you're used to eating a bunch of processed food, not eating really good food, not worrying about a caloric deficit at all, and you're not exercising at all, and you're doing a lot of sitting, not a lot of walking. If you're doing all of that, and then you abruptly switch over to a caloric deficit, healthy food, minimal to no processed food or sugars, and you're exercising all the time, you're walking everywhere. I mean, yes, those first, 6 months, first year, you can see a drastic change in your weight for sure, because you're changing everything that you do. You're changing your habits, you're changing all these things, so those are going to have beneficial consequences to you, right? Those are going to be good things that are going to come. But then there's a little bit, your body adapts, your body doesn't really burn as much calories anymore, so you got to change some things up. Then you get a little bit tired, maybe you don't stick to your diet that much, and things there's some turbulence right after that, okay? And things possibly could get a little bit more difficult, which could possibly be why there was only like a 40-pound difference in a year's time. 150 pounds in like 5 months, right? 5-6 months to, 40, 50 pounds in a year, right? And then looks like she gained, a little bit of weight the year after. Again, this is all somewhat normal, right? This is all normal. You're going to drop a bunch of weight. You're going to find a little difficult place, and then you can possibly bounce back. Again, most people, they drop down to a certain weight, and then they bounce back up. And then you you ever see some, like if you ever watch one of those movies, what's the movie with Harrison Ford and the girl, Meg Ryan, I think, 40 Days and 40 Nights? I think it was this movie. But you know what I'm talking about. You got one of those little small, planes that every celebrity dies in, the little Cessna planes. And you got the movie scene where they're going into a small, dingy, narrow, tree-laden runway, usually in the dark with some rain going on, splattering around all over. And you see the plane just like, tilting back and forth, and they're about to land. The pilot, maybe a little drunk, is about to land the plane, and maybe the wheels touch the ground real quick, and as soon as they touch the ground, he lifts up again, and then he slams it back down, and he lands it, right? That's kind of, what I think about when I think about, losing a bunch of weight, coming down to the runway, finding some difficulty, trying to line it up real quick, and then you touch the ground, right? You get the lowest weight you've ever been, and then you bounce back up real quick, but then you stick the landing, okay? So I think Warrior Jessica, I'm not sure what her weight loss goals are, what target weight she wants to be. I'm going to assume that she might want to be under 174 pounds, so I'm going to assume that maybe she's looking for like a lower weight, so she's still trying to stick the landing. But again, this is why I want to show you somebody like Jessica, just to show you this process, this whole progression, okay? Because again, if you're just sitting in January 2019, 354-pound Jessica, it's very hard to even think that, what is that? Like 2 years later, you're going to be about 200 pounds lighter, right? It's kind of hard to think that that's going to happen. And that's also another point. It took about 2 years to lose about 200 pounds, right? So it's about 100 pounds a year. You can break that down by the month. So again, it does take some time to lose weight. And again, so Warrior Jessica, she is for some reason I thought she was a Weight Watchers candidate. I don't know. She's got a bunch of things, I'm not saying she's hawking a bunch of stuff, but she'll show you some products, right? But again, she's going to show you that insight. You can see right here, really just kind of like two different people right here. And hopefully you can go show her some love, go ask her some questions, read her posts, just go through her posts. and see what she says in here. Again, you're getting into the mind of somebody. If you're trying to lose weight, you're getting into the mind of somebody who's already been going through it, right? So you can kind of see all the pitfalls that kind of lay ahead, and hey, maybe you're going to step in those pitfalls too. But also, maybe if somebody says, hey, there's a hole right there, maybe you step around it and you're able to get to your destination possibly a little bit quicker and with less scratches on yourself, right? Not like all the scratches I got from falling off my electric skateboard. But yeah, that's Warrior Jessica /is-fat. And go check her out on Instagram. Everything's linked down below for you if you want to check her out. And again, should be a wealth of information. I believe she's in some sort of WBFF pro. I don't follow, you would think, it seems like pretty much every personal trainer and anybody who talks good about fitness, not everybody, obviously, I'm generalizing, but everybody's into the IFBB and the bodybuilders and the oil on the skin and the chocolate body and the staring in the mirror and just flexing like this all day, just walking around, just flexing all day. That's not me, right? This is the Casually Fit podcast. I don't follow that stuff, so I apologize, Warrior Jessica. Maybe I'm talking to a legend right now. Or talking about IFBB legend. I'm not sure, right? But go check her out. She's doing great things, and she's looking good. She's looking happy. And again, of course, she's going to be happy. She's lost 200 pounds. Come on now. But yeah, go check her out. That's a Fit Fighter of the Week. And let me set this up. I wrote some things down just in case I forget. This next section, let me just get, I want to give you an idea of a diet, right? So again, this is just one diet. This is one suggestion, right? There's a whole bunch of suggestions for diets. There's a whole bunch of diet plans. There's diets on top of diets. There's all these different things, right? If you were to ask me, hey, Rob, what should I do? What diet should I do to lose weight, right? Well, my specific one would be a little bit more in depth from what I'm about to give you. But what I would tell you, right, in a quick little guideline, I would say, hey, okay, you're trying to lose weight? Great. How long you thinking? Oh, you want to lose weight in 6 months? All right, well, let's times that 6 months by 3, 4. Let's times that by 5. Let's look in 3 years from now. Whatever weight you want to be at, let's push that back to about 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. The longer, the better, all right? Not really. I mean, got to be reasonable, right? So about 2 to 5 years, something like that. So that's the first thing that I would say. Second thing that I would say is you need to intermittent fast. And I know this is like a hype thing. This is like people think it's a hype thing. And it is kind of a hype thing. I've been intermittent fasting since I was a child. Since I was a little chillin', since I was a little Robbie. I've been intermittent fasting. My mom always tried to shove breakfast down my throat. I'd wake up, barely alive in the morning, just wanting to sleep for the rest of the day. And she'd have bacon and she'd have potatoes or hash browns and eggs and toast. And tasted amazing. Or chorizo and eggs tasted great. I loved it. But I was never really pumped up to do it. And a lot of times I would, if I could stop her from cooking breakfast before, sometimes she would just have breakfast made. If I could stop her from cooking breakfast, I'd be like, hey, don't make breakfast for me, because I didn't like it. I always felt like it weighed me down, literally and figuratively, right? And so, I just don't want you to think that I'm this person who's like, oh my God, what's this new diet? What's this new diet plan? Let me tell everybody about it, right? I am part that. I do like telling people about great things that I find out about, right? Maybe that's a flaw of mine. But I just want to let you know that I've been doing this intermittent fasting game since I was a little teenager. And I have kept that up. When I actually started to be able to choose if I was going to make breakfast for myself or not, guess what? I didn't make breakfast for myself. And then I thought for the longest time that this is just how I ate. And so many people told me that it was the wrong way to do it and told me that I was crazy for never eating breakfast. So many people told me, you know what? I got a little weak, right? I stopped exercising. I stopped listening to my intuition, and I got a little weak. And I said, you know what? Maybe I'll try this 3 meals a day kind of thing. And it was not good, right? I ballooned up, right? My cognition went down 100%. My productivity went down. I did not like it. And I'm a hard-headed person. I tried it for like 6 months to a year. I want to say a year. I didn't like it at all, but I just saw that maybe I'm just hard-headed and I just got to stick with it, and maybe I'll eventually like it. Didn't like it. And then also, this was about the time where people were like, oh, hey, intermittent fasting is actually good for you. And I was like, oh. And I threw out the 3 meals a day once again. And that's why I'm suggesting to everybody, consult your physician, talk to your doctor, do what you got to do, okay? But I would say intermittent fasting, it's called like the 16-8. It's where you eat for 8 hours and fast for 16 hours. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you doing that every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There's a lot of other terms for intermittent fasting, like not intermittent, or like eating regularly one day and then not eating at all for a whole 24 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours, or only doing it a couple days a week or whatever. I'm telling you to try out intermittent fasting, again, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That is my suggestion for you. Now, this is not an easy thing to do at all. Okay, and first, before people start losing their mind, because there are, just doing intermittent fasting, like taking your diet right now and just not changing anything about the diet, and then doing intermittent fasting, just squeezing that eating time down to that 8-hour time frame, I don't think that's going to help you lose any significant amount of weight. What I'm talking about is intermittent fasting and caloric deficit and healthy food, which I'm going to get into the 2 other things here in a second. But the intermittent fasting, again, what I'm talking about is just do it all the time. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to adopt. You are going to be hungry. You are going to feel hunger pangs. It's going to suck for the first couple days, couple weeks possibly. It's going to suck. But once you get past all of that, once you get used to, you kind of have to like retrain your body, retrain your mind. Once you get past all that stuff, it really is. I really think it's better for cognition, and it also helps keep your weight down as well. And I would say that there are studies as well, which I'm looking at all the tabs I have open, and you know what? I closed that tab, and I'm not going to waste your time by looking it up right now. But if you just look up benefits of intermittent fasting, you can even look up negative effects of intermittent fasting. I actually, suggest you do both as well. Or look up intermittent fasting study on Google, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. Look into those studies, and you'll see that there are actual benefits from intermittent fasting. And again, I'm talking about the 16-8. So, just eat from noon to 8 p.m. and then just don't eat, which is pretty, again, you got to get in the habit of all this. It's easier than it sounds, but I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be easy for the first couple weeks. It is going to be difficult. But again, if you're going to ask me, hey Rob, how am I going to lose weight? I'm going to say, hey, stop eating before noon. Only eat from noon to 8, okay? And do that every single day. Also, what you need to do is you need to be in a caloric deficit. Well, first, let me get into the nutrition part. So first off, intermittent fast, right? So maybe if you ease into it, I'm a proponent of completely taking from one day to the next, wiping the slate clean, wiping off all your prior habits and just white knuckling it and trying to stick with your diet, exercise, and just completely changing your life in a single day. I think that does work for some people, okay? I think that is a path to success. But I also think that for other people, it's not at all a path for success, and it's actually the thing that stops people from actually succeeding is by wiping the slate clean. So I would suggest possibly, if you're to take my advice, is to maybe, and this is going to sound wild, I get it, maybe don't even change your diet yet. Maybe just try to intermittent fast and then get the intermittent fasting down. Say maybe that takes 2 weeks or maybe 4 weeks to where you just simply focus on intermittent fasting. You keep your diet the same if you want to keep it the same. I would suggest trying to change some things up, right? I think that would be a better way to do it, but maybe that's just too much, and I get that, right? Because it is a lot. So maybe try to just train your body to be able to be pretty okay with intermittent fasting. Again, the last half hour or so is going to be a little bit difficult. And I will say a warning is what happens is people begin watching the clock and just if they could eat the clock, they could eat the clock. They would eat the clock, right? And you get a little bit obsessive of when the time switches from not eating to eating. I would say that's kind of unavoidable for the first couple weeks, first couple months possibly. I would say that probably helps you actually stick to it. But I would suggest slowly over time, you need to focus on how you can minimize that and not be obsessive about it and not watch the clock, right? I just want to give that little warning out there because I see that as being a very bad thing. But again, if you're trying to ease yourself into this whole thing, just try to intermittent fast for a little bit. Just, again, try to do it. A habit, they say, is if you do the habit, right? If you do intermittent fasting every single day without faltering, every single day, right? For about 30 to 45 days, it will be harder. It will be more difficult for you to revert back to your old ways than it would be to just continue on with this new intermittent fasting. So that should be kind of the time frame you have in mind, is stacking 30 to 45 straight days of intermittent fasting, right? And then to where you're, it's still going to have its difficult times. It's still going to be a little bit difficult, but you're going to be kind of on cruise control, or you're going to be inside of a Tesla and they're going to be kind of driving it for you a little bit. You still got to have your hands on the wheel. You still got to pay attention, things like that. But it's not going to be as difficult. So that's my suggestion for that. Now moving on to the diet. So again, I would say if you could try to incorporate all this in a shorter amount of time frame, not take a month or 2 months to just do the intermittent fasting, and then take a month or two to, switch over your diet, and then a month or two to be in a caloric deficit. I would say if that's what you feel like you need, and you would rather ease yourself into it, and you put out like a 3-month time frame of you switching completely over, and then in 3 months you're going to be eating and doing all these different things. If you have it all planned out and all of that, that's great. Then do it. But I just don't want people to get it wrong to where you just drag this thing out for like a year, 2 years, anything like that. But the next thing that you should do, or you should do simultaneously, is switch up your diet. Okay, so, I'm sorry to say, but for most people, you will, if I had your diet here on this table, I would take this arm and I would I would push it off the table, okay? And I've been the same way, all right? I've had only horrible food. I used to drink, my life used to be filled with legitimately 8 plus energy drinks, and the cheapest energy drinks that I could find. 8 energy drinks a day, a pack of cigarettes a day, and all fast food. Jack in the Box, McDonald's, beef sticks, beer, 6, 12 beers, 18 beers, and that was my diet for a long time. So I had to take my hand and do the same thing, right? So don't get offended by that. I'm just saying, more than likely that is what you're looking at. So don't think that you're going to just kind of grab on to the current things that you eat. So the diet that you should do, this is a diet that I absolutely love. I love this diet for so many different reasons. One of the main reasons, it helps with blood pressure. It helps with cardiovascular disease. Some of the healthiest people in the world follow this diet, and that is why I'm suggesting it to you. It is also, okay, it might not be tasty to you in the beginning, right? Because you got to switch over your food. But I will say it is for sure something that you will begin to crave if you start switching over to this food. I'm craving it right now, just looking at the name, right? Just thinking about it, because I'm just thinking about all the food that I can eat with it, and it's so good. And that is the Mediterranean diet. Okay, this diet pretty much has everything that you're gonna need. Now, I have a list of things. I have a page on my website for the Mediterranean diet, or you can go to Google. Just type healthline.com has a great kind of synopsis of the Mediterranean diet and what you should be eating. Has like a weekly plan. I have that same thing on my website as well. Gives you an idea. And there's also a whole bunch of other websites that talk about the Mediterranean diet. So if you're looking for recipes, you're looking for places to eat, all that stuff, nutritional facts, the history of it, if you're looking for any of that, I actually did a video. I think it's called like the top 3 best diets on my YouTube channel. And that has the whole thing, or, nice, concise little package about the Mediterranean diet. So go check, there's a whole bunch of resources that you can go to if you're looking for what food to eat and all of that. But I just think it's one of the best diets that you can have because it incorporates fish, salmon. It's so good for you. Getting those omega-3s, all that fat, and it tastes great. You have a nice grilled salmon with some lemon, maybe some herbs on there. It's the best, right? And then, you got some olive oil on there. That's the great thing about the Mediterranean diet, olive oil. You get to eat olive oil. I mean, it's on the diet. You get to have olives on it. You get legumes. You get nuts. You get chicken. You get beef on here. You get whole grains. You get bread. It's really great, right? And it's from Greece. It's from back in the 60s. And I believe it's been a while since I looked at the study. I want to say they did a study. I can't remember. But here's one thing that they say. So, numerous studies have shown that the Mediterranean diet can cause weight loss and help prevent heart attacks, strokes, type 2 diabetes, and premature death. What other diet says that? And they have studied this diet so much. So these are not just wild, flippant claims that some health nut is just spouting off from their mouth, right? These are studies that were done. And I've looked into these studies a lot before. I'm sorry, my memory's not the best, okay? So I can't bring them all up to my brain right now. But it's 100% legit. So again, you're going to be eating... You get pretty much everything. You get the vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, whole grains, breads. It does say eat red meat rarely. I would say to tick that up a little bit, not really limit that too much. But again, to each their own. I think, red meat, steaks, things like that, they have so much great things in it, which I'm actually going to list off right now. I had a whole nother thing that I was going to show everybody. I was going to piece together my own little diet, but I realized that's going to, a lot's going to get lost in that. So either way, like if you're to do, this is one thing that I would add on there. Just, instead of having less red meat, instead of looking to reduce your red meat consumption on this diet, just, maybe have it a little bit less, but don't look to constrict it too much. That would be my suggestion. If you can't have the red meat, if you can't have the steaks, have the steaks. That I would say, right? And the reason why is because you can get over 40 grams of protein inside these steaks that you could be eating, and that's going to help you build some muscle. Could also help aid with your weight loss as well. There's also great healthy fats in there. And on top of that, you get vitamin B12, zinc, iron, vitamin B6. You get taurine in there, glutathione, you get creatine. It's just filled with a whole bunch of great things for you. So that's why I just wanted to give meat its due, let you know that. And I know if there's vegans watching this, okay, all right, I get it. You don't like meat, but some people do, and there are studies that show that it is beneficial for you. But back to the Mediterranean diet. So one of the things that they do say, don't eat sugar-sweetened beverages, sugars, processed meat. So when you're looking at the Mediterranean diet and you're thinking to yourself, well, it says to eat chicken, so I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A and I'm going to go grab me some nuggets, right? I'm going to go grab me some breaded chicken, or maybe I'm going to go to Popeyes. I'm going to go get me that spicy chicken sandwich. That's not what they're talking about, right? They're talking about baked chicken or grilled chicken, not breaded chicken. So make that distinction. These are huge distinctions. Again, whether you stick to, maybe I should let you know this. My idea when it comes to dieting and all these things, I think the best way forward is for you to pick food that you can eat for the rest of your life. The Mediterranean diet 100% has food that you can eat for the rest of your life. I think that's very important. So you don't have to, switch from your bad diet right now to the good diet and then to whatever diet you choose afterwards. You can kind of stay in the same place. And I got distracted. That's my bad. That's my bad today. I got distracted, started reading things on that's what happens when I have the everything up here in front of me. So what was I going to say with that? I forgot. I know one thing. Yes. So when it comes to these things, think of the whole foods, okay? So when I say eat beef or eat red meat, again, this is not processed meat that you find in cheeseburgers at McDonald's. It's not something like that, right? You should be going to the grocery store and you should be finding steaks, slabs of steaks. You should be finding chicken breasts. Maybe, you can grill up some thighs and some drums, right? I get it. It's not Buffalo Wild Wings or anything like that. It's not going to be as delicious as that. Again, this diet, these things aren't going to be, that's what I was going to say. I'm back on track. If you do these things forever, that's great, okay? But if you do them for a short amount of time, that's perfectly fine as well. Like if you're trying to lose weight with this diet, when I say, hey, don't eat any chicken with bread on it, don't eat any breaded chicken, and don't eat any cheeseburgers, things like that, to somebody who's going from a bad diet, that's a shocking thing to hear. And I agree for sure. And I don't think that's the best way to live. I mean, who would you want to talk to who doesn't occasionally eat a cheeseburger? That person doesn't sound like a fun person. So I would say that when I'm talking about this stuff, when I'm talking about this intermittent fasting, when I'm talking about this Mediterranean diet, caloric deficit, I'm talking about this is going to be a decently long amount of time, but also a short amount of time when it comes to your overall health, right? Like this thing says no sugars or anything like that. So pretty much treats, desserts, things like that are off the table. I'm the type of person that says, if you have that a little bit sprinkled in while you're trying to lose weight, I get it, right? And if you have it sprinkled in after you lose the weight and you're at a healthy weight, that's just called being normal, right? So that's my whole idea on that. So I just wanted to say that. But yes, this diet, again, you can find, there's so many resources online that you can go to where you can see exactly, just check oh my God, we're going a long time today. Where you can see exactly what I'm talking about. It's going to give you a complete breakdown. There's recipes all over the place. But if you're trying to lose weight, I believe this is going to be one of the best ways that you can do it is by being by intermittent fasting, right? Restricting your breakfast. And then also having this Mediterranean diet. So your diet's going to consist of the fish. It's going to consist of oils, healthy oils for you, healthy fats for you. It's going to consist of the chicken, whole grains, things like that. So that's going to be good. Again, you can really get I'm looking at a picture right now. It looks delicious. Really get some great tasting food on the Mediterranean diet. And on top of all this, the last thing that you must incorporate, of course, is you have to be in a caloric deficit. So whatever you need to keep track of all of these different foods. And again, this is annoying. This is the annoying part of it. You have to, again, keep track. It's so, I feel for you. If you got to, start looking at all your food, you guys be like, how many calories is this? How many sugars is this? Fats, carbs, all these things. It's very irritating, right? But it will only be irritating for a little bit. That's the good news. It's only going to be irritating until you kind of figure out all the different food that you're going to be eating, and then you just kind of know, right? You make your dinner for the night, and it's similar. It's the exact same dinner that you made a week ago, and last week you already counted up all the calories, and hopefully you wrote it down. So then you know how many calories you're going to be eating in this meal. So you're not really fully checking every single time after a certain point, but there is that time where you do have to check it. But it is necessary that you are consuming less calories than you're burning, right? That is absolutely necessary. See, some people will just, for whatever reason, they just say, just start the Mediterranean diet and you'll lose weight. Well, the other thing about the Mediterranean diet is you're not going to see any portion sizes. They don't tell anybody to restrict their eating. And another thing that is actually, they don't tell you to restrict your eating, but what is also attached to the Mediterranean diet, it's one of the only diets that says this is a diet that says that you also have to exercise. So that's another reason why I like it. Which is 100% for sure. But again, if you're trying to lose weight, you're asking nutritiously, how am I going to lose weight? Intermittent fast, get the Mediterranean diet, and get yourself in a caloric deficit. Start counting your calories and start counting the calories you burn and calories you consume, and make sure that you are in a healthy number underneath how many calories you burn. What that number is going to be specific for yourself, and it is going to change with time. Generally, you're going to want to be over about 250 calories, maybe somewhere around 500 calories below the amount of calories that you burn if you want to be losing weight, okay? And that number can get even lower. This is where you might want to talk to a physician, maybe start looking at some forums. There's also, you got to find out your basal metabolic rate, how many calories you need to survive, right? How many calories you burn to survive. You want to make sure you're not messing with the numbers at all to where you are in such a huge caloric deficit that you're not getting any of the nutrition that you need, and thus making it very dangerous for you. So, got to make sure you're following all those things. But that is my suggestion for you, is if you're trying to lose weight, to do that. I think that's, again, the recipes that they have, it's all healthy food. Again, the studies have shown that this helps prevent heart attacks, strokes, type 2 diabetes, and premature death. The food that is in the Mediterranean diet is undoubtedly healthy for you. So you already got that checked off the list. Now, how are you going to help mitigate the extra fat on your body? How are you going to turn your body against itself in a way to start kind of cannibalizing itself and burning the current stores of fat that you have? Well, that's where intermittent fasting comes in. And how are you going to also make sure that you are not over consuming? That is where the caloric deficit comes in. So you got to have this, 3-punch knockout right here, right? You got to set it up twice and come with a haymaker, okay? And I believe that's going to help most people. Again, this is not easy, right? Getting in a caloric deficit, difficult, right? It's very, very difficult, because a lot of people, when they start looking at the numbers, like if you just don't change anything about your diet or how many calories you burn, like you don't start exercising, you just keep track of that, you're going to see a number that is not going to be very exciting for you, right? So, getting rid of that caloric surplus, and then adding in the exercising and then getting into this deficit, that is very difficult, right? Just to do that is very difficult. And then resisting the food that you have been eating, right? And switching it over to the fish and the chicken, the plain chicken, the grilled chicken or the baked chicken, and not the nuggets, right? Not the French fries, not the cheeseburgers, none of that. That's very difficult. And then on top of that, restricting your eating, not eating breakfast, right? Not eating breakfast and only eating 8 hours a day, very difficult. So if you have to ease yourself into this, go right ahead, right? Maybe take 2 weeks to focus on intermittent fasting, and then the next 2 weeks focus on switching out the foods that you're eating, and then the 2 weeks after that, then, or pretty much from then on, incorporate those two and add in the caloric deficit to kind of back yourself into this thing. And that might be the best way to do it. Or you can just wipe everything clean and be like, hey, you know what, Rob, release this podcast on Wednesday. You know what, Thursday, I am intermittent fasting. I'm doing the Mediterranean diet. I'm in a caloric deficit. I'm on. You can also do that too. That's a very exciting thing to do. It has a very low success rate, an extremely low success rate. But I'm all for anybody who wants to try that. Those are things that I am all for. But again, most people, it's not going to work out. And it's not a bad thing. If that's not you, that's not you, right? That's not, to wipe everything clean and try to do it, white knuckle it, from one day to the next. That's making a very difficult thing extra difficult. So, again, people kind of call that insane, right? I'm a little insane in that sense. I like doing things like that. But it's very difficult. And if that's not you, that's not you. And if you want to actually have the longer game in mind, again, don't do that. Just kind of ease yourself into it. But as far as nutrition's concerned, that is what I would suggest. Now, moving on, and this, I think I'm going to save the workout portion of this for next week's episode or the week after. I'll go into it next week, because I've kind of went a little bit longer than I thought today. I will say, if you have been listening to this podcast this long, I will give you just a little bit. And, it's all relatively simple. Well, you can really just look at the name of the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is LRS, Lima Romeo Sierra, or Lift, Run, and Stretch. If you want my workout advice, you need to start lifting weights, meaning when I say lifting weights, you need to look at your entire body and find a couple exercises for pretty much each muscle group of your entire body. So that would include doing bicep curls. That would include doing tricep push downs or skull crushers, right? That would include doing shoulder raises or shoulder presses, doing incline bench press, dumbbell presses, doing lat pull downs, pull ups, doing back flies. That would include doing core exercises, a whole bunch of different core exercises, doing lunges, squats, doing the quad machine, doing the hamstring machine, doing weighted lunges, doing box jumps. That's all lifting. Maybe not the box jump things, but that is all in the category of lifting. So I would say, for a quick suggestion, again, I'll go deeper into this in another episode, but if you've been watching this long and you're like, hey, I wanted to learn, I wanted some advice on lifting or the workout part of it, I would say target your entire body and pick apart every single muscle group for you. It is going to differ a little bit from male to female, right? As far as the chest exercises are concerned, you can kind of parse that out right there. But pick apart every single part of your body. Again, the biceps, triceps, chest, back, lower back, upper back, your legs, your glutes, your hamstrings, your calves, your core, right? Your abdomen, all of that, your lower back. Just pick apart that. Find workouts. It's on the website, or you can just Google it. Find a few workouts for each one of these, and this is where it gets into, which I'll get into next week, and I'll tell you about sets and repetitions and all that. But that would, just find workouts for each part of your muscle, each part of your body, and just start doing that. So that's one, right? And again, this is not something that's really, I'm leaving so many things out of this. I'm leaving everything out of this, right? So I'm not even sure how this is benefiting you. But I'm a third in it, so I'm going to keep on going. The next thing for a workout program, so you're lifting weights, right? You're doing all these things. You're targeting your muscle groups. And you're also, again, if you're like Warrior Jessica, 354 pounds in 2019, I get it. You're not going to start running, right? But you need to get on the bicycle machine, right? You're probably going to have to start on the bicycle machine where you sit back, which actually is one that I have been getting familiar with because of all my injuries, and I have to, lean off my back a little bit. I had the injury with my foot from the electric skateboard, and recently I have been doing that sitting bike machine. So you might have to start there, but that's going to help, get you into improving your cardiovascular health, right? So that is absolutely necessary, and hopefully one day, like Warrior Jessica possibly does, one day when you lost 200 plus pounds, you can really get into running. And that's really going to get you very healthy and very fit, is to be able to actually run. But, starting off with the bicycle, the one where you sit back, and then maybe the one where you sit up, and then moving on to elliptical, right? This is all progression. This is how you can build yourself up, is sit back, then the upright bike, and then the elliptical, and then on the treadmill, start walking. then on the treadmill to maybe jog a little bit, and then maybe run, and then you're doing full, hey, I'm going to jump on the treadmill, I'm going to run 5 miles today, or I'm going to go run around my block. So that's the whole goal with that. And also the last thing is to stretch, right? These are, so many different stretches. Go to a yoga class. Just start taking some time and stretching out your body, moving your lower limbs a little bit more, twisting your abdomen area, and that is going to help with your muscles. It's going to help relieve tension in your body and also tension in your mind, which is, a much better thing, right? I cannot emphasize how much I love stretching and what it does for my mind and body. So, that's why I call this whole thing Lift, Run, Stretch. It's in the name, right? But that's my suggestion, and I will get into that next week, right? Because I don't want to go too long. But let me show you the Fit Freak of the Week. Okay, now this woman is a fitness trainer. Her name on Instagram is My Trainer Carmen. On Instagram, it's linked down below for you if you want. And she looks like a very fun, happy person, and that's why I want to show you her. If you go to her Instagram page, she'll show you a whole bunch of different exercises she does. She's almost always smiling and dancing at some point in these videos, which I think is great. In this video, she color coordinates quite well, so that's appealing to the eyeballs. And I think she's a great follow because, she's messing with a mace, which is this, it's like this pipe, this weighted pipe with a ball at the end. I think it was used in like medieval times, maybe. I don't know the history of the mace, but I think the allure of it, the reason why some people use it, is because old school people back in the day used to use it or whatever. I haven't used it. Supposedly it's a great workout. It looks like a decent workout. But again, this is something abnormal. She's not just sitting there doing all the normal like IFBB exercises, right? So that's why I want to show you her, because just give you a little bit something different. She likes the kettlebells, likes using that. She's doing, she shows you that you can do a workout anywhere at all, like on top of a parking garage. You can just grab your little kettlebell, go to the top of a parking garage, and start picking it up and putting it down, right? So I think that's great. She talks about gumbo and kebabs, so that's cool. But yeah, she's a fit freak of the week because she's obviously fit and she's absolutely killing it. And yeah, so if you're looking for some inspiration here and looking for, to see what the body can become over time with a bunch of work, bunch of stress on the body, through strength training, bunch of difficulty. I mean, what was her name? Carmen didn't, she didn't wake up one day and she's like, oh, now I'm director of fitness Carmen. Now I'm My Trainer Carmen. It's not how, now I have 500 plus followers on Instagram. It's not how it works, right? So that's why I want to show you her, because she's somebody who has put in the time and it's clearly paid off. So if you're looking for some inspiration, some motivation, go check her out, talk to her. But that's this week's episode, right? This I wanted to fit in so much more than I did. I failed at that and ran this episode long. So maybe this was boring. I felt good. I like this. I feel all right about this one, right? Is it okay? No. Yeah. Either way, that's this week's episode. Looking forward to next week's episode. I should be able to bring out a video on Monday for everybody. Again, if you're listening to this, if you go, you might not know what I do on Mondays on YouTube. I put together some sort of concise video that just lays out a topic for you. You know, I like to think about what stops people from trying to lose weight. I like to think about what stops people from continuing to lose weight. And I like to, try to come up with ideas of how I can kind of tackle that topic and give a different perspective on it, or, whatever. So, I don't know. Nobody's listening anymore. I'm barely listening. It's late, right? I'm tired, and it's time for me to sign off. But I appreciate you coming by today. Thank you, and have a good week. I will see you next week.